Happy Monday! Can you believe it's already here? Grab your pen, your piece of paper. I hope you have your coffee. I do. Let's talk real estate. Today I wanted to discuss buyer agency again. Believe it or not, again. I've been getting a lot of questions about buyer agency, the buyer broker agreement. So I just wanted to go over a few things with you. Everybody keeps saying to me, why is it so important to sign this buyer broker agreement? And what I tell them is, okay, I've been trying to think of a way to explain just how important it is. So the only thing I can come up with is, think of the buyer broker agreement, hiring a buyer agent to represent you as your life preserver. If you were to go on a cruise ship and one of the rules were, you have to put on this life preserver, and you said, I think I'm going to take my chances. So you'll be taking your chances with, sharks, piranhas, whatever else is in the water, should something go wrong, okay? When something goes wrong, you're going to be thinking, oh, I wish I put on my life preserver. What a predicament I'm in now. Is there somebody I can blame? Maybe I'll tell them that they didn't tell me I should have put on my life preserver. Maybe they didn't tell me my rights. The buyer broker agreement goes along with the consumer notice, and the consumer notice explains your rights. After you read your consumer notice and you're meeting with the buyer agent at that point should show you the buyer broker agreement. And when they show you the buyer broker agreement, on the buyer broker agreement, everything that's in there, it's the terms. It explains how the agent's going to work for you, how the agent's going to be paid. Okay, so let me just explain something. If you decide, and a realtor, if someone said to me, I don't want to sign this, then it's up to me. Do I want to work with this buyer? Which means the buyer is not a client, but a consumer. And let me just explain the difference between being a customer and being a client. Okay, so if you decided not to sign it, the agent will maintain loyalty to the seller's need. They'll tell the seller all that they know about you. They'll keep information about the seller confidential. They'll focus on the seller client's property. They'll provide just the material facts. They'll only provide price information that supports the seller's listing price. They'll protect the seller. They'll negotiate on behalf of the seller. They'll attempt to solve problems to the seller's advantage and satisfaction. Now, if you sign the buyer broker agreement and the agent is working for you and is your buyer agent, then you're a client. And that means that they'll pay full attention to your needs, not the seller's. They'll tell you all they know about the property. They'll keep information about you confidential. They'll focus on choices that satisfy your needs. They'll provide material facts as well as professional advice. They'll provide counseling based on comparable properties and their professional insights. They'll protect and guide you. They'll negotiate on your behalf. They'll attempt to solve problems to your advantage and satisfaction. That's the difference between being a customer and being a client. And also, let me just add to that, if you were my customer, not my client, and I decided to work with you, which I very rarely do, if a house came up that suited your needs, and it suited one of my clients' needs, someone who actually signed the buyer broker agreement and hired me, guess who I'm calling first to tell about this property? That's right, my client. My duties first are to my client, not to the customer. Okay? Your life preserver. It all goes down to, if you don't care about your own rights, okay, then why should the realtor care about your rights? At the end of the day, if something goes wrong, are you going to be the one to sit there and say, well, you never told me about this, okay, when in fact they did. They met with you for 2 hours or an hour or whatever, and they explained what they're going to do for you, and then they explained the buyer broker agreement, and you decided, you know what, I don't want to sign this. And for whatever reason, the realtor decided, okay, whatever. Maybe they didn't even show it to you, regardless. Realtors are supposed to show it to you. If they're not, they're hiding something from you. And it's a shame. It's a shame because there's a lot of buyers out there who are going to go driving around this weekend and they'll see a sign and they'll call the person on the sign, and that realtor will now explain buyer agency or dual agency or seller agency, and it's a shame because they're not telling you about your rights. I'm telling you about your rights. It's very important. Now, you don't have to sign the buyer broker agreement the first time you meet the agent. If this is the first time you've met the agent and you want to take it home and review it and maybe, call an attorney and have them review it, that's your right. If you want to meet with another realtor and talk to them and see if they'd be better suited for you, that's your right. If you've already worked with the realtor, if the realtor sold your house years ago, you hired them, you trust them, you've come back to them, then there's no reason in the world why you should absolutely not sign the buyer broker agreement. That's just ridiculous. So I hope this drives it home to you. The buyer broker agreement is your life preserver. It's there to save you. It's protecting you, okay? You have to take the first step in caring about your rights. Read it. Go over it. It discusses how the fee is going to be paid, where the fee is coming from. What happens if you found a house, you sold your house, you moved in with your parents, you have kids, and you've been looking for a home for 6 months and you didn't sign this, and for whatever reason the realtor's working with you. You find your house, it's your dream home, you're so excited, you sit down, and now what some realtors do is they put the buyer broker agreement in front of you after you found your house and you're filling out the agreement of sale. Not a good time to be doing this. Anyway, the fee, which maybe you've never discussed. How much does your realtor charge? That usually comes out of the fee that the seller is paying their agent. It's split. So if the seller hired their agent and they decide to pay them 5% or 6%, 3 would go to their agent, 3 would go to your buyer agent. Well, what happens if now you're signing it and now, they know how excited you are, 6 months of your life, that's all you've been talking about, and now they're like, okay, well, my fee is 5% and the seller's agent's only offering 2. I want you to make up the difference and pay me 3%. 3%? You're asking me to pay you 3% in addition to all my other costs? Whoa. No, you don't have to pay this. You can walk away. Walk away. 6 months of my life? Wait a minute. I'm not doing this. Blah, blah, blah. Well, now the realtor says, well, remember when I sat down, I tried to explain this to you 6 months ago and you decided not to sign it? Okay, and you can say, well, you can look at it this way, and the realtor decided to work with you anyway. I'm not saying it's right, and I'm not saying you couldn't at this point, go take it to an attorney. You could, but that's going to take time, and more than likely you probably lose the house. It's not a good position to be in at that point, is my point. You want to discuss all of this in the beginning, have it all in writing. There's no question. You know how much they're being paid, you know where it's coming from, and your rights are being protected. At that point, the realtor's only looking out for their fee. Is it a good thing? No. Is it the right thing? No. But then again, it wasn't the right thing that the realtor worked with you in the first place when they weren't hired. Okay? It's a loyalty thing. It's a commitment. It's protection. It's for your rights as a buyer. That's it. Bottom line, that's it. Okay, so I hope this drives it home to you, explains a little bit more. You'll want to sign it when you meet the right agent, and you will protect yourself. Thanks for tuning in today. Go out there and make it a great day, and I look forward to seeing you back here next Monday.